Okay, welcome devotees who just joined us. Mother Kamari Priya, welcome. Mother Chandravali, Hare Krishna. Here comes Mother Gayatri. Hare Krishna. Offer some prayers to Prabhupada. Then we're diving head first. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namane. Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachaline. Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satanine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, these sessions are a bit like that, isn't it? It's like diving into the deep end of a swimming pool. Dive into Krishna Kata and swim around. Of course, a lot of you have probably been doing extra chanting today and reading. Today's Ekadashi. But it's good to go for a swim in Krishna's pastimes. Okay. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh, can you see? What can you see? Which book can you see?
Text 144.
Okay, great. Okay, because I had another book up. And okay, so let's begin with text 145. We were on 144 last week. Yeah, so 145. Did I press the call button? I did. Did I say prayers to Prabhupada? We did. Hare Krishna. Okay, any volunteers to read?
Hare Krishna, can I
Yes,
start?
please, Mother. Yeah, so just the translation.
Text 145. My dear Uddhava, just as the great sages in yoga trance merge into self-realization, like rivers merging into the ocean, and are thus unaware of material names and forms, the gopis of Vrindavan were so completely attached to me within their minds that they could not think of their own bodies, or of this world, or of their future lives. Their entire consciousness was simply bound up in me.
Okay. I think they're Krishna conscious, isn't it? Go on.
Commentary. The gopis are married women with husbands, children, and household responsibilities. How can they be considered superior to renowned self-contented sages who having given up all material attachments? Here Krishna answers this doubt. After sages who follow the Ashtanga yoga system become advanced in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratihara, dhyana, and dharana, they realize the absolute truth as Lord Vishnu in their perfected trance or samadhi. In that perfect consciousness, they forget the temporary names and forms of material world, including the names and forms of their own bodies. The gopis resemble such perfect sages. For activities of the gopis, minds are all fixed on Krishna in a highly developed trance, achieved by virtue of their constant connection with Krishna, their natural relationship with him in pure love. Like sages adept in Ashtanga yoga, the gopis have forgotten everything of this world, their husbands and children, their own bodies, the normal objects of self-centered attachment, their individual identities as proprietors and enjoyers of a material body, and all their hopes for success in this life and the next. As rivers abandon themselves to the waves of the ocean, the gopis have merged their hearts in thought of Krishna. Thus, being fully dedicated to Krishna, they should be recognized as even greater than Munis, perfect in Ashtanga yoga system. Even while standing in the midst of a blazing fire, the gopis are not burned, rather all their desires are fulfilled. Furthermore, simply by remaining always in Krishna consciousness, the gopis have gained the spiritual strength to easily turn away from everything material. Their hearts are irrevocably attracted to Krishna in all circumstances. Whereas Munis have to struggle hard to progress through the successive methods of Ashtanga yoga. The Munis must deeply concentrate to bring their minds under conjugation, and only after long endeavor can they possibly reach the goal, samadhi, in which they can forget material names and forms. The gopis are much greater because they easily achieve samadhi.
Well,
But
just a
aren't
quick
the...
comment here, just a quick comment. that in the I think yeah we read together the Sankapa Kaumudi by His Holiness Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj, and there's a chapter there. It's called Perfecting Samadhi. So this is the perfection of samadhi. So there's many descriptions of great yogis in the Vedas who are going into meditation for sometimes or enter into samadhi, sometimes for thousands of years. One of those is Markandeya Rishi. He's a great devotee of the Lord. And also Brahma, he entered into samadhi. Also Srila Vyasadeva, he entered into samadhi and saw Krishna. But here, the perfection of samadhi is in the example of the gopis. Yeah. So this samadhi of Markandeya Rishi, Srila Vyasadeva, that's a specific practice where they close their senses to all external stimuli, and within their consciousness, they merge into the state of samadhi because they go through the different stages of pranayama. I think we know these stages: pratyahara, dharana, and dharana. And then the next is samadhi. But they may, or Markandeya Rishi for thousands of years, but it's a state that they enter into. So what's being described here is the perfection of samadhi. So the gopis are not sitting down and going into a specific practice of pratyahara, dharana. They're not doing pranayam first. They're not doing any of that. But by their love, by their attachment to Krishna, they are in the highest state of samadhi, whether they have their eyes closed or not. They are in the highest perfection of absorption that anyone can be on their object of meditation. And their object of meditation is actually Krishna. So it's 24 hours a day. It's not as if the gopis are sitting down and going into meditation. It's not as if the gopis are sitting down and chanting japa and trying to fix their mind upon Krishna. There is there you can get the picture. You get the picture how absorbed they are in Krishna. And that's why they're glorified by Lord Chaitanya to be the highest devotees of Krishna. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. This is perfection of samadhi. And it's going to be explained here more. Yeah, you can continue, Mother Kumari Priya. And of course, please, any other questions or comments, please feel free to.
Yeah, Prabhu, you said about Lord Brahma. So when Lord Brahma was born from a lotus, is then he was doing austerities, is he went to samadhi as well while meditating?
Yes, in his meditation of samadhi, that's when Krishna appeared to him. And he appeared in his meditation, actually. It wasn't an external manifestation of Krishna. Krishna appeared in his meditation, and the whole of Vaikuntha appeared in his meditation. And then from that, he wrote Brahma. He wrote Brahma Samhita. So yes, he was in a practice. So like his austerity was one, so that he was given tapa was to do meditation. Yeah. So he did that for thousands of years. He's non-duplicitous is described. His non-duplicitous practice of, could say, practice of meditation, practice of austerity, denial of the senses, and just going within. And
So when Brahma Samhita was like obviously is he was in that state as well, meditative samadhi state, or
who? Sorry?
is when Brahma Samhita was composed?
Yeah, that was his ecstasies, his overflowing ecstasies and realizations. That was his Vigyan.
Okay.
That's what he perceived, and in his prayers, and that's what he wrote. I don't think he was sitting there with a pen. Probably something a bit more mystical, sitting there with a typewriter. I think a bit more mystical there, but that was the Brahma Samhita. Is his fruit, is his ecstasy of his realization of everything that he saw within that revelation coming. Yeah, and he wrote it all down in best ways. And We just have a small part of Brahma Samhita that's available to us. It's actually a lot larger, and it's wonderful. Yeah. Is that
Thank
okay?
you. Thank you.
Yeah, can continue. Yeah.
I'll continue. But aren't self-content, but aren't self-content sages like a four Kumaras considered the most advanced of saintly persons? In ordinary circles, that opinion may prevail, but in truth, the gopis are more saintly than self-content sages. The gopis differ from sages, those minds flow like rivers into the ocean of samadhi, oblivious of names and forms. For the gopis, forget everything material, including their own bodies. They never forget Krishna's names, forms, and qualities. The lives of the gopis are practical and real, full of variety, and imbued with a spirit of devotion to Krishna. The gopis, fixing their intelligence completely on Krishna, never forget his names and forms. Thus, they excel all munis by easily realizing the highest limit of happiness in full love of God. The ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 9.464, Lord Narayana tells the Muni Durvasa, Naham Atmanam Ashashe Mad Bhaktai Sadupirvina Shriyam Atyantikam Vapi Yesham Gatir Aham Param. O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I'm the only destinations, I don't desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss or even association of my consort Shri, the supreme goddess of fortune. In other words, the Supreme Lord is more attracted to his pure devotees than to the goddess Shri. Here a doubt may arise. The gopis of Vrindavan are also said to be goddesses of fortune. Doesn't that put them in the same category with Shri? How then can they be considered Krishna's demon devotees? Krishna dispels this doubt here in his discussion with Uddhava in the 11th canto by disclosing a confidential aspect of the gopis' glories, an aspect that establishes the gopis beyond all doubt as the greatest of saints and greater even than goddess Shri. Earlier in the 10th canto, while giving Uddhava the message to convey to the gopis, Krishna glorified them, but at the time Krishna didn't reveal what he himself was distressed by being separated from them. Had he done so, Uddhava might have told this to the gopis, and their condition would only have worsened. But now, in the 11th canto, Krishna wishes to refute the popular misconception that he is hard-hearted, and he wishes to satisfy Uddhava, and so revealing the greatness of his own ecstasy, he discloses his feeling for the gopis. In so doing, he describes how it is that the gopis are more saintly than everyone else. To understand the hidden meaning of that, Krishna is saying here, we have to read, we have to read the word avidan as a present participle, being unaware, instead of past tense verb were unaware. The rules of Sanskrit grammar allows this. As a participle, avidan is a masculine form in the nominative case, and so it's must refer to the speaker, Krishna himself. Avidan can therefore be translated as if I'm unaware. Krishna's being the subject of a previous verse, which includes the word Maya, by me, further justifies such reading. The sages, Munayaha, are another subject in a current verse, and thus by extension, the participle can also refer to the sages.
Okay, just comment there. I think probably I'm not the only one. I had no idea that that paragraph is so technical. It's so scholarly. You know, anyone having, I guess, dare I ask, have an insight, but very difficult. So Sanatana Goswami is a great scholar, and the way he's translating the words and the different meanings, yeah, and different according to Sanskrit, according to the different rules of Sanskrit, it's very, very, very technical. Yeah. You can, because within Sanskrit, you can, according to the the meaning of words is always according to a context. Yeah. So sometimes one Sanskrit word can mean different things according to the context in which it is placed. So there's root meanings. So there's different root meanings of each Sanskrit word. And it's broke down into sounds, individual sounds which form one word, and each of those sounds can be interpreted. Oh, it's a whole difficult thing, but just appreciating Sanatana Goswami here and his genius, you know. Okay, carry on. So perhaps we won't try to understand. It's too difficult. Let's just read on. Carry on, Mum.
You want me to continue, or
Yeah,
does
carry on.
anyone
You can
else?
finish.
Okay.
You can. There's only a couple
Okay.
more paragraphs left.
Okay. Krishna is saying, then sages are not really sages if in their samadhi they become like rivers flowing into ocean and forget my names and forms. Because the activities of their senses completely stop, such forgetful sages become as if dead, for they are devoid of a living soul's defining quality of food and unable to experience transcendental ecstasy. In the same way, the I ever to forget my gopis, dare I ever to fail to think of them constantly, I would no longer be Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Or, understanding this idea in an even more radical sense, when my life would come to an end, I would no longer exist. Krishna refrains from openly speaking this last thought because he wants to spare Uddhava the pain of hearing something so distasteful. Krishna, divulging why he feels the way he does, says to Uddhava, I'm obliged to the gopis because their minds are absolutely fixed on me. The gopis always think exclusively of me, and their attraction to me is most sublime. Therefore, dear brother, for them I had the greatest love. I must confess to not having the same kind of love for anything or anyone else, not for my parents, my brothers, my queens, my children, not for my own transcendental body, nor for my Vaikuntha abode with all its paraphernalia and associates, nor for my special abodes here in Dwaraka and Mathura. All of them I could forget and still be myself, Sri Krishna, and not to feel as much pain as if I were ever to forget the gopis of Raj. I'm always thinking of the gopis with supreme love and attachment. Another verse found in Sri Rupa Goswami's Padyavali 135, Uddhava tells the gopis, Viyogi ninam apipada timvo no yogino gantum apikshamante. Yat tyeya rupasya parasya pumsho yayam gatadya padam durupam. The path you woven traverse who feel separation from Krishna. Even great yogis cannot approach. You have realized the goal of meditation, but others can hardly achieve a supreme personality of Godhead. Thus form as a most worthy object of meditation. Real gopis engage in eternal devotional service to the Supreme Lord know only Krishna as the object of their meditation. But the gopis have surpassed even such genuine yogis because the gopis are a constant object of Krishna's meditation. Therefore, they are greater than everyone else.
Okay, you get the point here. Why are they? Why are the gopis greater than the most elevated yogi who's meditating on Krishna?
Because gopis never forget Krishna,
Well, because
even for a
Krishna,
second.
because Krishna's in a state of samadhi in remembering them. Krishna's attract are there. The gopis have completely attracted Krishna to them in his meditation. So that's difficult really to appreciate fully. So this is the position of the gopis, that as much as the gopis are feeling for Krishna and meditate upon him, so Krishna is 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 absorbed in them. And this I don't know if this verse is from here, but this is quite here. Yeah, so normally we hear of Mother Yasoda's love is inconceivably intense for her Krishna, isn't it? Yes, we read about that. We can read about that. Especially we have the Kartik coming up soon, and the love of Mother Yasoda is very much celebrated. And if you read in Krishna book, you can see of how much affection and love that Mother Yasoda has. But described here, I do not have the same kind of love for anything or anyone else, not my parents, my brothers, my queens, my children, nor my own transcendental body, nor my Vaikuntha abode, etc., nor my abodes of Dwarka or Mathura. All of them I could forget and still be myself, Sri Krishna, and not feel as much pain as if I were to forget the gopis of Vraj. Right? So he could survive without them, he could say. Of course, Krishna wouldn't. That's not a fact. Excuse me, it's an eternal relationship that Krishna has with all these, with Mother Yasoda, etc., and Balaram and the queens of Dwarka. But still, just showing the exalted nature of the gopis' love, that Krishna says here that he could not survive without remembering them. Yeah.
Prabhu, can I ask, in this context, it's very deep here. Is it means the Krishna speaks about gopis who's like Nitya, like who eternal, like Nityas with him, or is it ones who also come from like a previously being a brahmana? So like, is it particular gopis he speaks about, or is it all gopis of Vrindavan?
Well, in one sense, yes, and in another sense, no. In a sense, regardless of the path, those who have attained perfection are in a state of perfection. So you have the Nityasiddhas, and so they wouldn't have engaged in the path of sadhana. They are always eternally perfect, and they do the sadhana of love, of spontaneous attraction to Krishna. But then you got those who are on the path of sadhana, like us, yeah, who some and perfecting that sadhana and taking it to different stages, then one enters into and becomes, say, gopi. Yeah. So then so that refers to Krishna's meditation is on both. Yeah, Nitya Siddha and those who have achieved Siddha through sadhana Siddhas. But from another perspective, as we know, there is even amongst the gopis, there is different levels of affection that they have for Krishna and Krishna has for them. I think we know what point we're coming to here is that ultimately who amongst the gopis is celebrated?
Radharani?
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, it's Radharani. So from that perspective, there is a difference in the intensity of, how can we explain it, in the intensity of love. No one compares to Radharani. Yeah, no one compares to Radharani. Everyone else who has love has that love because it's manifesting from Radha. Yeah, her love kind of pervades all the universes and all the bhaktis and all of creation are, recipients of her grace. And that's why it's only by her grace that you can enter. As Krishna, yeah, we all devotees are seeking Radharani's blessings. So did that make sense? So in one sense, no, there's the sadhana siddha and the nitya siddha, they're all, because they're siddha, because they're perfect, then they're in that perfect relationship where Krishna is absorbed. But then there is within the gopis, then there is different levels of attachment. Yeah. Difficult to analyze. I mean, the Goswamis do. They analyze the different groups of gopis and their different moods of love. It gets quite detailed. There's one book which comes after the Nectar of Devotion. It's called Ujjvala Nilamani. And that's where Rupa Goswami speaks about all the different groups of gopis, all their different moods, all their different group leaders, etc. There's so many different groups of gopis. That's Ujjvala Nilamani. Yeah, that's the sequel after Nectar of Devotion. But there's one
Thank you.
one at the top, and that's Sri Radha. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, is the Manjaris comes under gopis?
Sorry?
Is the
Again?
Manjaris comes under gopis in that respect, or in a sense like how Krishna reciprocate as well, or is it will be like a different, because you described now Nitya
Yeah.
and Sadhana
See
is a
that?
difference. So what about Manjaris? In what respect they will be?
Well, they're specifically well, their love has a specific their love is specifically glorified and appreciated by Radha, by all the Astasakis, and by Krishna because of its selfless nature. In the sense that it's called, there's, I forget the, what's the, Tadbhava, there's two words, it's glorified in this, I forget the Sanskrit. But they are, there's the, like the Astasakis, etc. They are reciprocating with Krishna. They are enjoying rasa. They have a direct contact with Krishna. But the Manjaris, they don't have a direct, intimate relationship with Krishna. They have an intimate appreciation, but they assist. They are happy and absorbed to serve, for instance, Radharani. And that is considered to be completely selfless. You understand? They are not, even if Radharani tries to arrange that they have some direct exchange with Krishna, then the Manjaris will refuse. Their happiness flows from the happiness of Radha and Krishna meeting. So the Manjaris have no concept for them. For instance, the Manjaris serving Radha, for them, everything is Radha. Their queen is Radha. Everything is about the service to Radharani. Yeah, she is the supreme personality of God for them. They are completely absorbed in her mood, and their whole existence is based on pleasing the divine couple. Their whole base of existence is not on them meeting with Krishna, not on them dancing with Krishna. It's about them assisting Radharani to meet Krishna and helping Radharani to be absorbed in Krishna. And helping, because sometimes Radha and Krishna, they have their transcendental disagreements, as we know, for the sake of the pastime. So Radharani sometimes refuses to have anything to do with Krishna. And who does Krishna go to often? He goes to the Manjaris. And the Manjaris will, they will persuade Radharani to give up her man, or they will arrange, they will lie, they will do all types of intrigues in order to get the couple to meet. I don't know if I'm making sense here. So is that anything on that?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I got it like differentiation now. Because I wanted to realize that how it's in this context which we just read. and you explained it nicely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So just also keep in mind is that it's this is the focus of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. They generally aspire to be manjaris. That's the general direction of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That's generally what devotees in stages of perfection. They don't desire to be competitors to Radha. They desire to serve Radha, and that's called manjari. If I dare say the word, manjari bhav. Yeah, that's a whole other subject. Okay, but they're glorified. Yeah, they're very much appreciated. Krishna has so much affection for them. Why? Because they arrange the meetings with him and Radha. And Radha has so much affection for the Manjaris. So much affection. Why? Because they assist her in being with Krishna. Okay? Bit of Manjari.
I'm sorry, Prabhu. Just
Yeah.
to finish off, Vrinda Devi says it will be something like a manjari, obviously, because she arranging all the things as well for Radha and
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
So mood will be similar to manjaris as well,
Yeah.
Radha
Very
gopis.
much the same, yeah. Vrinda's a young girl. I think she's the same age as Manjari, is perhaps a little bit older. But Vrinda Devi in Braj and the Braj itself shows, so she's someone who's not focused on being with Krishna. She's someone like the Manjaris. She is focused on facilitating Krishna meeting with the gopis. Yeah, so same, yeah, that's Vrinda Devi. Yeah. So she's the one who organizes all the whole of Raj. It's a manifestation of her Shakti and potency.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna. Let's text 146, a short one here. Perhaps I can read this one. Okay, I'm just moving this bar around so I can see. Okay. All those hundreds of thousands of women knowing me as their most charming lover and ardently desiring me that way were unaware of my actual position. Yet by intimately associating with me, they attain me, the supreme absolute truth. Okay, so these what's being spoken of is those who desire personal contact and association with Krishna. That's different than the Manjaris. Okay. The Gopis fulfilled their highest ambition by achieving Krishna as their lover. Those cowherd women were so exalted that by their personal contact with them, thousands of the outcast women of Raja, the Paulindis, and other aborigines. There, we've heard about them, isn't it? Interesting. It describes the aborigines. Achieved the same rarest goal of life. The word abala, women, in its literal sense means not strong, indicating that the Aborigine women lacked the assets of knowledge, good birth. So these are forest dwellers, as far as I can make out, behavior and devotion to God. They were ignorant of their own eternal identities as spirit souls. And because they had never come close enough to Nanda Maharaj's village to see Krishna with their own eyes, they were also ignorant of Krishna's all attractive beauty. So, how did they get so much mercy then? So, we're going to hear that here. Nonetheless, in the forest, the Aborigine women of Raj accidentally came in contact with grass and leaves smeared with kumkum from the bodies of the gopis, and in this way gained the transcendental association of the gopis and became infected with the desire to have Krishna as their lover. They became infected just by that dooli, just by that prasad. Or if you presume that the Polindis and other Aborigine women, simply by being born in Krishna's holy Dham, must have known that they were eternal souls, their association with the gopis, even though indirect, infused them with sublime devotion for Krishna and made them forget whatever spiritual knowledge they had. they were also ignorant of who they were in another sense, taking no heed of their own dirtiness and their dingy complexions. They were helplessly impelled towards Krishna by the conjugal attraction they contracted from the goat. So it's a bit like could you say it's a bit like a disease, a bit like a pandemic. They've captured, they've been yeah, they got let's just finish it. The Polindis and others may have been low-class tribal women, but they had the greatest fortune of being attracted to the supreme absolute truth, the darling son of Nanda Maharaj. And that attraction was extraordinary. They accepted him as the absolute master of their lives, and that too in a special mood that he was their unmarried lover. They had to keep their love for Krishna secret because as outcasts they had little hope of ever meeting him, and if they did chance to meet him, that contact would be considered altogether illicit. Thus they privately cherished the treasure of prema within the cause of their hearts. At every moment they tasted newer and newer sweetness in the highest possible limits of blissful satisfaction. Having had some contact with the gopis, the aborigine women of Raj all attained perfection similar to theirs, if not if not in this life, then in the next. Okay, that's the Palindis. And in the Venu Gita, the gopis glorify the Palindis as well. They are also glorified. Radharani and other gopis see them as being in a much better position than themselves. That's the humility of the gopis. But it's quite amazing. It seems like the Palindis, from what I can read here, it seems like they're not aware of whether they are aware of Krishna's pastimes, they've seen Krishna, it's not clear. I think they must have some knowledge of Krishna. Because it's not just I'm speculating here, but it's not just by coming in contact with the kumkum, although that's what it seems to say here. You understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to understand that kumkum just gave them a smaran and a remembrance and appreciation of the gopis. Because although they're not directly engaging pastimes, they are there. So Krishna's got quite a name for himself all over Raj and further afield. But they cannot come for various reasons. They cannot possibly come near Krishna for various reasons. So this pacifies them. And this kumkum, there's quite a big description about this kumkum, how it manifests, and yeah, how it comes from, it comes from Krishna's feet, and the kumkum's on the chest of the gopis, etc. And then it gets left. Then the Polindis come in touch with this kumkum that's in the forest, and being in some appreciation of Krishna, having perhaps heard, knowing they cannot come anywhere near him, then they rub this kumkum all over their bodies, and they go into an ecstasy of attraction for Krishna, just like the gopis. Yeah. But it must be a bit more, yeah, it must be very much in the mood of separation, because they're like, yeah, they cannot come into the village even, you know. But still, they've developed this love for Krishna as their unmarried lover. Yeah. Same as the gopis in one sense, unmarried lover. Anyway, any comments on that? Or questions? Yeah, the outcasts. Yeah. And outcasts are quite outcasts in India, isn't it? I don't know if that's still the case, but once you're an outcast, there's not, they don't really mix, Might be different now, I'm not sure, but if they're outcasts, then they're in the forest, they're kind of out there, tribals, and there's not much social interaction except for big events, perhaps. But as far as intermarriageal marriage between one group and another, that would never happen, you know. But here although they're outcasts, they've achieved perfection. Yeah, Hare Krishna. All right, we got time for more. Hare Krishna. Let's any other comments? We can read 147 now. Well, quite a lengthy purport or commentary. Any volunteers out there to take us through this one? Going once.
Yeah, Prabhu, I can try, but the internet's quite bad.
I'm sure you'll be successful.
Okay.
Just
you have to read this Sanskrit
just a
or
translation. Just a
okay.
translation.
Okay. Among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narration of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class brahmana, or even a Lord Brahma himself? Commentary, text 147 through 152. Brihad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sri Uddhav during his visit to Vrindavan. Because of his own solid reputation as an exalted Vaishnava, his testimony that the devotional service of the gopis is supreme is extremely credible. Uddhava is a favorite student of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, and he is a trusted advisor to Krishna in Dwarka. Krishna himself praises Uddhava with enthusiasm. My dear Uddhava, O beloved of the Yadu dynasty, because you are my servant, well-wisher, and friend, I shall now speak to you the most confidential knowledge. Please hear as I explain these great mysteries to you. Bhagavatam 11:11-49. Influence of natural compassion and other virtues of the gopis is supremely beneficial for everyone.
One second. Where are you reading from?
You just, yeah, that's the influence at the top.
At the top.
Influence.
At the top, among those entitled.
Oh, sorry. Among those entitled by name Bhagavan, I am Vasudeva. And among the devotees, you indeed, Uddhava, represent me. Bhagavatam 11:16-29. My dear Uddhava, neither Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarsan, nor the goddess of fortune, nor indeed my own self, is as dear to me as you. Bhagavatam 11:14-15. When Uddhava met with the gopis in Vrindavan, he used all his diplomatic skill to deliver Krishna's message in a way that would relieve the agony the gopis felt in separation from Krishna. But after hearing the message, the gopis became even more deeply immersed in the ocean of their distress. Uddhava was astonished by the extraordinary intensity of gopis' attachment to Krishna. He had never seen or even heard of such pure devotional surrender. Therefore, just before leaving Vrindavan, Uddhav spoke these 6 verses in homage to the gopis and their pure devotion for Krishna. Here is the first of these verses. Uddhava declares the gopis greater than all aspirants for liberation, greater than all self-realized liberated saints, and greater than all other devotees of the personality of Godhead. Only the gopis, the goddesses of fortune who reside in the cowherd village of Sri Nanda, have realized the full potential of human life. Tanu Brito Bhavi. That these greatest of all Vaishnavas are human beings and residents of earth is fitting because on higher planets like Swarga, the abode of Indra, the residents enjoy so much power and sense gratification that such love for Krishna is practically impossible for them to achieve. In other words, the demigods and sages living in the higher regions of the universe can hardly ever perfect their lives like the gopis of Vraja.
Yeah, so just
The
keep in
word-
mind that all the devotees which have been spoken of in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, the gopis are the topmost, as we know. Yeah, and like described here, we'll describe that only they've realized the full potential of life. So even Prahlad hasn't realized the full potential of life, you could say. In from even Dhruva, even Hanuman, or so many devotees, great devotees. It's only described here. Only these cowherd girls on planet Earth. They're the ones. Tano Britu Bhuvi. This is Uddhava's testimony. Only they have reached full perfection. No one else. Even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, etc. Anyway, can continue. Yeah.
Yeah. The words Tanu Brito Bhuvi, perfecting their lives on earth, can also be understood in another way. By sharing the rare gift of Prema Bhakti, the gopis deliver the fallen conditioned souls of this earth. In other words, the devotional lives of the inhabitants of earth are nourished by the gopis. The influence of the natural compassion and other virtues of the gopis is supremely beneficial for everyone because the gopis possess the greatest possible
Yes.
love
Yeah.
possess the greatest possible love for the inner Lord of all souls, the son of the king of cowherds, the Lord who is famous as Govinda because he is the Indra of the cows. Moreover, the gopis disregarded everything else and loved Govinda as the Lord of their hearts, their lover, their paramour. They enjoyed with Krishna the unprecedented Rasa Leela festival, and then by displaying all attractive transformations of their Viraha Bhav, they deprived Uddhava by his wisdom, by vanquishing his sobriety. For a long time, the gopis had quickly endured within their hearts the pain of separation from Krishna. But after hearing Krishna's message from Uddhava, they could no longer hold themselves back. Uddhava then became a witness to the uncontrollable waves of their complete distress. The ecstasy the gopis feel in separation from Krishna makes the whole world cry in sympathy and brings Vaishnavas to the verge of death.
Okay, so we better stop here. We might be on the verge of death. No, you can continue. So this is, can imagine Uddhava, he gets, actually imagine, he's not expecting this. He's just going to give a message. Of course, it's a bit, it's a very, it has to be it's not just like that. But from his perspective, yeah, he's just going to give some messages. I'm going to give here's some messages just to pacify the gopis and everyone, to pacify the residents of Vrindavan. So he goes to Vrindavan and he wasn't expecting to see this. He's never seen this type of love in any devotee to the point of madness in a separation from Krishna. So he is completely, he is humbled as well. And Krishna, as we know, Krishna gave him the message as well so he could see this. He could see this. Because I think it's Uddhava, is it? Uddhava remains after Krishna departs, isn't it? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Uddhava has this in his heart. He has the picture of the residence of Raj in his heart. And that's what Krishna wants him to preach. He wants to give that, what he's seen and witnessed to the, he describes, he tells Uddhava, you should go to the, I think to the sages, and teach them. So this is why Krishna sent Uddhava, because he's a good teacher, but he doesn't know about the residents of Vrindavan. He knows, but he's not seen. He's not practically seen it. So by that visit, he became very much affected. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so the ecstasy of the gopis feeling separation from Krishna makes the whole world cry in sympathy. Yeah, this is the idea that if we hear about this, we should be, what's the word? We should be empathize with it as best as we can from our conditioned state. Empathize with the separation that the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan feel for Krishna, and then imbibe that in our mood to help us to develop some sense of separation. It's by hearing, and at least intellectually, we understand about separation. And then as we're engaged in bhajan, we have that intellectual appreciation of that, and we emphasize as much as we can with the gopis' feelings of separation. And that will help us to develop feelings of separation. Yeah, that will help us. Because that's our problem. We don't feel separation from Krishna enough. So we need to develop this mood of separation from Krishna. If we want to achieve Krishna, we have to feel for him. And the ones who feel the most are the residents of Vrindavan. And the specific mood that we have to feel is being separated from him. So by hearing about this, we can, we can take a bit back with us home, so to speak. Can continue reading unless any questions on that.
Prabhu, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Regarding the sages.
The sages.
So these sages are always engaged in devotional activities, especially ones who engage in devotional service. We know some sages go, so some sages want to become gopis, but some sages go to the higher planets, whereas the sage planets. So is it because of a different mood and different aspirations and desires in a heart for certain things? How does it difference work?
Well, it's going to depend upon who they're hearing from, who they've been blessed to meet in their path of self-realization. If they haven't met an unalloyed bhakta or an unalloyed devotee, and they've just been associating with Brahmavadis, then their aspiration is going to be to obtain attain Brahman, for example. But if they've been blessed, even if it's for 1 second, it's great, or they've been blessed to have the association of devotees, then and they hear from devotees about Krishna, then they're going to develop that attraction and affection for Krishna. And that will be the sadhya of their sadhana to obtain Krishna. So it very much depends on their sangha, very much depends on their association. That's the principle of what you hear, you become attracted to. Yeah. So if you don't hear about Krishna and the gopis, then you're not necessarily going to be attracted. Or if you don't hear about Krishna and Vrindavan, then you're not going to be attracted to obtain that place. But if you have heard, like Krishna book, if you join the Hare Krishna movement, then you're going to hear about Krishna, you're going to hear about, Vrindavan. So then your sadhana your aspiration can develop in that direction. But if you don't, then if you just associate with Ram Bhaktas and you're completely absorbed in Ram, to the exclusion, something about Krishna, but your bhajan is Ramayan, then you're going to go in that direction. You're going to develop attraction in that direction. And that's where you'll go if you reach perfection. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you can continue. Who was reading?
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah. In the obvious sense, Krishna is Nikhilatma, in that he is the soul of all beings. But in the verse, the phrase Nikhilatmani has another confidential meaning. He is also Nikhilatma, in that each gopi cherishes him as very life and soul, literally her entire self, in a way that other devotees cannot imitate. No one loves Krishna as unconditionally as do the gopis. Mumukshus, renounced aspirants for liberation, fear material existence, and self-satisfied. Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are liberated souls, muktas, are free from such fear, and both in their own ways understand Krishna to be the supreme goal and the supreme fruit of spiritual endeavors. The liberated Vaishnavas and the aspirants for liberation, who have the good fortune to get the mercy of those Vaishnavas, admire the love the gopis have for Krishna, but rarely do they attain it. Uddhava considers himself to be in the same category, a sincere servant of Krishna who can only admire the gopis' prema from a distance. But isn't Lord Brahma, rather than the gopis, the greatest of all Vaishnavas? Since he is the original guru for the path of devotional service, isn't he superior to all aspirants for liberation and to all liberated devotees? He sits on the seat of highest sovereignty in this universe, and he is endowed with many excellencies. If the gopis are so exalted, then why didn't they accept births like his, in which they would have been worshipped by the whole world, rather than come to the earth as lowly cowherd women? Uddhava answers these questions by saying, Kim Brahma Jambir Ananta Katharasasya. The term Ananta Katha refers to topics about unlimited lords, Sri Krishna and Sri Balaram. Uddhav simply states that a Raksha Bhakta,
Rasika Bhaktas.
Rasika Bhakta, a person who has a taste for hearing Ananta Katha, sees no use in being born as Lord Brahma, even numerous times. Such Rasika Bhaktas regard birth as Brahma as an obstacle to cultivating the taste of Ananta Katha, because such a birth creates various distractions such as pride. Therefore, the gopis intent on tasting the honey found at Sri Govinda's lotus feet would rather be born as simple daughters of cowherds than as an exalted being as Lord Brahma. Alternatively, the rules of Sanskrit grammar allow Katharasasya to be as split as Katharasasya, meaning for one who has no taste for hearing these topics. If someone has no interest in Ananta Katha, what can he gain by taking birth as the creator of the universe? Nothing of real value. Attraction to Ananta Katha is the real fruit of renunciation, liberation, and devotional practice. Thus, a person who lacks this taste cannot honestly be called a renunciant, a liberated sage, or a Vaishnava. Another way of looking at Uddhava's words is that he is explaining why the gopis, though on the highest level of self-realization, chose to abandon the norms of civilized behavior and principles of dharma taught in the Vedas. In this context, Brahma Janma can be interpreted to mean the appearance of Vedic knowledge within. For the gopis, or indeed for anyone who has a taste for the topics of the unlimited Lord, the presence of Vedic knowledge on the lips and in the heart is less important than attraction to Krishna Katha. Brahma can also be taken to signify knowledge of the pure self, and Janma to signify the means to generate this knowledge, namely the Vedas. In other words, a person who has realized Ananta Katha Rasa has nothing to gain by Vedic study or theoretical knowledge that he is spirit distinct from matter. And to a person who has no Ananta Katharas, of what use is Vedic study or knowledge or the self? Ananta Katharas is the only substantial result to be gained from studying the Vedas and inquiring into the identity of the self. Vedic study, self-realization are only means towards that final goal. Once one has reached the goal, one can put aside the means by. Sorry.
Which one got there? You okay? Hari Bol.
Yeah, Prabhu, I lost the reading. 1 second.
I can finish if you want, unless you want to find it.
If you can, please, because I think my internet's a bit.
Okay, one can put aside the means by which one got there. Just as a person who has lit a lamp to find something in his room before going to sleep can put out the lamp and lay down to rest once he has found what he's looking for. Or just as one who has paid to take a boat across a river can forget about the boat after crossing. And conversely, when a person never attains the goal but remains stubbornly attached to the means, all he accomplishes is useless effort, as in beating empty husks of grain. Okay. A devotee situated in Anantakata rasa is therefore a superior person, whether practicing the regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti or helplessly submerged in the ocean of rasa. Interesting. Helplessly submerged in the ocean of rasa. He never gives up hearing and chanting about Krishna and doing whatever promotes that hearing and chanting. What to speak then of the gopis, those most fortunate of all women who have the rarest quality of love for Sri Govinda. For them, ordinary Vedic cultural standards and dry realizations of selfish meditation are of no value whatsoever. Okay? That's why the gopis were a little bit, when Uddhava, I think Uddhava tries to speak to them about meditation. The gopis are not very impressed. They're far beyond that. But anyway, okay, let's stop there. So there's a new word here. So Ananta Kata Rasa. Yeah, so Ananta means unlimited, isn't it? Kata Rasa. So unlimited bliss, unlimited satisfaction that comes is the devotees enjoying this Ananta Kata Rasa. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. As we said in the beginning, it's a bit like diving into a swimming pool. So we've dived around in the wonderful descriptions of the gopis and the wonderful descriptions of the love of the residents of Vrindavan for the last hour. Good thing to do on Ekadashi. And we'll continue next week on text 148. Let me just write that down. Okay, any final questions or comments? Yes. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And if you have time, you're welcome to join us tomorrow for Sudha Bhakti Chintamani from 6 o'clock. You're welcome to join. Okay, thank you, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
The great Lord Prabhu ki jai.
Hare
Sanatana
Krishna.
Goswami ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Jai
Hare
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Hare